Jay Sano without intro music. Jay Sano with intro music. Intro music remix. Jay Sano 19. Jay Sano 19. Jay Sano 19. Jay Sano 19. Hello everybody and welcome back. It is Jeff again coming to you from the Minecraft server. And what am I doing today? Well, we've been, Badge and I were talking about two-letter acronyms. He said TY for thank you, because I slept for him. I slept with Badge. And then I said NP, and he said, I'm running out of two-letter acronyms. And I said MT, meaning me too. But what are we going to do today? Man, Goodland looks amazing. I got the greatest view of Goodland. I just don't ever do anything over on Goodland. Though, I believe that that is the chessboard over there, the infamous chessboard that we found during the shrinking border, and oh god, I can't even remember who was making it at the time. No, I think it was, I want to say Vidya, but I'm not 100% sure. Was talking about finishing up the pieces so we could actually play. I would love to play some Minecraft chess. That would be great. I haven't played chess in so long. I really should get back into playing chess, like even just against the computer, just to get those skills up. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big nerd. I was actually in the chess club when I was in high school. Yeah, I know. All the ladies were coming my way. They were like, oh, chess. Amazingly, it was actually at my school, a lot of the jocks played. They weren't in the chess club per se, because they always had like basketball season and things like that, but while they were waiting for their games to start or their buses to leave for practice and things like that, many of the quote-unquote jocks, my school was really small, so I don't know if we had, like, you know, your stereotypical jocks or whatnot, but many of them actually would come over to the chess club area and play a couple games of chess with people while they were waiting, because I actually went to a very intellectual school for the small class that we had, but people were, let's put it this way, the extremely popular kids in high school were people who were in AP Calculus, and we didn't have AP Physics, I guess, but AP English. So AP Calc and AP English were the two AP classes that we offered at my school. And if you don't know what AP means, it's like the advanced placement classes. So there's certain classes that people can take, and now it's different for every school in the exact way that they do this. Oh, by the way, I'm actually going to try to renovate inside of this base. I didn't actually finish saying that I was doing that, but that's why I'm digging this out. But in many schools, AP classes are a way for students to be able to get a higher than a 4.0 GPA. And I know that sounds weird, but there's actually people like valedictorians out there because they had like a 4.2 GPA, even though GPA is not on a 4-point scale, because AP classes, I forgot that thing dropped. AP classes counted for a higher than a 4.0 GPA. That was not the case in my school. They were still capped out at 4.0. The max you could have gotten graduating my high school was a 4.0. And no, I did not get a 4.0. I was not the perfect student in high school. I was pretty good. I had a rough freshman year though. I was not quite like ready for high school, I guess you could say. I don't know exactly what you call it, like, because it's in high school, nobody's ready for anything, but I did not really personally care about, you know, high GPA and stuff when I was a freshman. It actually held me back a lot because of all things, I remember, this is the funniest thing, when we were the beginning of our sophomore year, I believe, they passed out a class ranking. And it was basically so you could see where you were at in the class, and I'm getting messages on Facebook. So everybody check your Facebook. I think I'm messaging you all right now at one time. Yep, that message, it was definitely from me. But anyways, so the class rankings came out, and I don't know, out of 106 people, I was like, you know, 40th or something like that. I wasn't far down the list, but I wasn't high up the list either. You know, 40 out of 106, you know, you're kind of in the middle, essentially. You're at the maximum point of the bell curve. Not really the maximum, but you're in that maximum area of the bell curve. So you're kind of there. You're just one of the people. And I remember looking back at my buddy, And I glanced down at his rank, because they didn't like give it out for everybody. It wasn't like, hey, here's everybody's ranking. It was, here's your ranking. And I glanced at my buddies, and he was 11. And I started laughing. I was also very immature when I was in early high school. I didn't mature until I was like end of my junior year, maybe beginning my senior year time frame. I was a very immature kid. So I looked at his and he was 11. So I started laughing and I was like, oh, that sucks to be you. What does 11 get you? Nothing. You know, top 10 is, you know, the only thing. If you're not number one, if you're not valedictorian or valedictorian or salutatorian, top 10 is the next thing you go for. After top 10, there's nothing. It doesn't matter. If you're 11, you're 12, you're 105. It does not matter. You're not valedictorian. You're not salutatorian. You're not top 10. You're nothing. It means absolutely nothing. So I was laughing at him because he was 11 and how dumb of a place that was. And, you know, not really that it was dumb, but, you know, I was like, it sucks. You're going to have to work your ass off to try to make that 10 spot. Ha, ha, ha. You know, I thought I was like all this hilarious guy for some reason because I wasn't a smart kid. I didn't really care. I wasn't going for anything like that. So that happens. I, at some point in the next year and a half, start to mature a little bit more than I was. Realize that grades mean something. That I actually need to get good grades to get into college. I actually want to get good grades to go farther in life. And I just started to become, you know, a more mature person. Things weren't nearly as funny to me. I was actually... Oh, this story is going to be all over the place. In high school, there's the National Honor Society. And you have to get a certain GPA to make it into the National Honor Society, which I did make. Like, even being 40th in the class, I was not too low. It was like a 3.4 GPA or something like that. So I had accumulated a 3.4. I was like right on the borderline, but I made it. There's an Infinite Spring. Let's just leave that there. I don't know exactly what I'm digging this out to. I'm just digging it out. But, so I was invited to join the National Honor Society right after my freshman year. And I was actually one of 3 people who were invited to join based on GPA that were denied based on maturity level. And I remember my high school math teacher, Mr. Dorr, who great teacher, one of the best teachers I have ever had in my entire life. I will never say a bad thing about that man. He was amazing. He is the reason that my sister actually pursued a career in math. She became, you know, a math teacher herself, but it was because of him, because he's just that amazing. You can stay there for now, Mr. Snowman. And he, I remember, came up to me and said, you know, Jeff, I'm sorry to tell you, but your maturity level is not where we would like it to be in order to join the National Honor Society. He was the teacher that like ran the National Honor Society stuff. And I was not expecting anything like that. I was pretty much devastated. And devastated to the point where, not because I was like, oh, I'm not good enough, but devastated to the point where, how dare you? Because like I said, I was immature at the time. And in my mind, I was like, how dare you? That's ridiculous. F you all. I don't want anything to do with this stupid honor society anymore ever again. I'm done with you. I hate you, you know, type of deal. That was what was going through my mind. So the next year comes around, and this is the year that after, like, so I guess it was my sophomore year because it was my junior year when I was invited back to the National Honor Society, and I didn't apply. Mr. Dorr came up to me and said, Jeff, again, your GPA is good enough. It's actually better for you to go to the National Honor Society this year. I'm awaiting your application. And I said, sure. You can basically await it all day long. I'll just tell you sure, because I'm not going to give you an application. And I didn't give him one. He came up to me about a week before the applications were due and was like, Jeff, you need to submit your application. And I finally told him, I was like, look, I'm not going to. I don't really care about the National Honor Society. I don't want to be part of it. I feel a little shafted from last year. So you know what? Screw you guys. And he pulled me into his office actually one day. And he actually, if I recall, he came into the lunchroom and pulled me aside in the lunchroom while we were eating and said, Jeff, you know, come here, I want to talk to you. And he took me to a back table in the back of the lunchroom. And he's like, look, he's like, you didn't get in last year. I personally was one of the people who said that you were not ready. He's like, I have since seen you grow, and I feel that you are ready and would be a great member of the National Honor Society. And he actually made me feel a lot better about what happened. I kind of sat and thought about it for a little bit, realized that I had, matured, and decided to put in my application, and we became a member of the National Honor Society, which doesn't do anything for you really after high school and college. It's just something that it looks really good on your college applications and things like that. And it's a great organization to be part of, but after you're in college, it doesn't really matter at that point much anymore. Like, I don't go to a job interview and they're like, why do you think you're better than this other candidate? My response is not, well, I was in National Honor Society when I was in high school. It's not one of those type of things, but it definitely helped out in college applications. And, he made me feel a lot better about things. Like, I really had finally started to mature, and I realized that and was very glad that Mr. Dorr was this amazing person who straight up told me that he was one of the people who said I was not ready, and then he has now seen and he feels that I am ready and would really like me to take part in the National Honor Society, and that was made me feel great. So yeah, my maturity came a lot later than it did for most people. So either way, getting back to the story about the top 10 thing, or my buddy who was in 11th place, and so me making fun of him for that, I afterwards started to realize and started to mature more myself and became somebody who actually started getting good grades and things like that. And wouldn't you know it, graduating class of 1999, in case you guys didn't know, that's when I graduated high school. I was the last of the millennium, but 1999 graduating class, just like that one dude, the wear sunscreen guy, to the graduating class of 1999. A bit of advice: wear sunscreen. I don't know if anybody has any idea what that song is anymore. It was really popular in that graduating year. There's no question about that, as well as Prince's Party Like It's 1999, which, go figure, was our class song because we can't think for ourselves. But anyways, besides that, graduating class of 1999, 106 students that graduated. Mr. Jeff Sato here was number 11. Oh, yes, he was. And I will tell you, do I want to make this entryway? I want to make this place wider, actually. And I will tell you that being number 11 in my class was partially my own fault for being, immature and such when I was a freshman, as well as the fact that I was lucky enough that I had co-op my last year and a half. Where the hell is there water outside this place? Interesting. I had co-op as a class the last year and a half that I was in high school, which was amazing. So my from junior year, mid-junior year on through my senior year, I was done with high school every day by 12:30. We also had block scheduling, so we only had 4 classes a day for a semester. And then we had all new classes the next semester instead of traditional schools, which we did traditional schools when I was a freshman and a sophomore. We didn't change to this till I was a junior. But traditional schools are like 7 or 8 hours a day, and you have the same hours for the entire year. Whereas we wanted to set up block scheduling. There was this big push that they thought this block scheduling thing, so it was 1.5 hour classes that were a semester long, and it was more to prepare students for college, because that's how colleges run. They don't run like the traditional high schools did. It was more to prepare students for things like that, as well as they felt that people actually learn better that way. So my school implemented it my junior year, and that's how I finished out high school. But co-op was great, because I basically, what that means is you get a grade for going to work. I got a grade for working at McDonald's. And I'll tell you, I was awesome at working at McDonald's. Actually, I worked there for a very long time. My bosses loved me there. I enjoyed working there. A lot of schools who do co-op don't allow something like McDonald's to be a place that you can work at. as a job because they feel that that's not preparing you for the future. My school was a little bit different, and they kind of said, well, yeah, McDonald's can prepare a lot of people for the future. A lot of people end up at McDonald's in the future, as well as if you're like on the management track, that's still managerial experience that you can be learning. You can't just be like, hey, it's McDonald's, it doesn't count. So my school was a little more open to that. So I got to work at McDonald's, and I left school every day at 12:30 and went to work. I didn't have to go to work that day. I just had to work X number of hours per week in order to get credit for everything, which I did. And at the end of my very first semester of working there, out of 3 total that I did, my very first semester, the sheet that I gave to my boss to grade me, oh, I have a shovel, never mind. The sheet that I gave to my boss to grade me was it wasn't a Likert scale. So a Likert scale is like 5 options from like strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. That's your traditional Likert scale. It was a Likert scale, but there was only 3. So it was disagree, agree, or what was it? It was underperforms, performs, or overperforms is essentially like what it said. And it was asking, about, your job skills to get a grade. So, whoops. So my boss fills this thing out with mainly things in the performs and the overperforms. Actually, not mainly. Like everything was in the between performs to overperforms categories. Nothing was in the underperforms. And I think I had about 50-50 between performs and overperforms. I looked at the thing. She even asked me, she's like, Jeff, is this good for you? Do you like this? We can talk about it. And I was like, no, that looks great. Like, thanks, Liz. That was my boss's name. I was like, thanks, Liz. This looks fantastic. I thought it was good. I turn it in. My grade for that semester is a solid B. I went up to the co-op instructor and I was like, why on earth would I get a B for this semester with an evaluation like this? And he said, well, an A is everything in the overperforms. A B, like they didn't even do like minuses, pluses, and it was just like A, B, C failed essentially is what it was for this. And I didn't know this going in. He's like, a B is, mixed between overperforms and performs. A C is like everything just on the performs level. I guess a D would have been like a mix between the performs and underperforms, and like a failing would have been, or complete failure would have been like everything in the underperforms, which I had no idea. And I went and told my boss,